Hello, everyone. We're excited that you're here. Welcome to our very first Talk Music session. And we are just excited to host this tonight. And there are many people I see that are joining as we speak. And so we're going to kind of give a few minutes here just as people are coming in to the session. As you can see, Joy is already here and she's ready to go. And we're excited. So I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of how this will work because this is our first one. And by the way, this is really cool that you're part of it the first time. So I love that. As you'll see on the right hand side, you'll see like a control panel. There'll be a place there where you can ask questions. And as Joy's speaking tonight, I'd love for you to ask questions. They won't see those on the screen. Nobody will see those but me. And I'll just kind of moderate those. In fact, I'm going to go away here in a minute. Just my video will go away and Joy will be speaking. Anyway, so drop us some questions. If she says things that you're like, man, I'd love to know this, or what does she think about this? This is the time. This is your platform to be able to talk with her and just ask questions. And she'll probably cover a lot of your questions, but ask them anyway, and I'll kind of moderate those when she's done. We'll kind of go to a question and answer session part of this, which is really great. This is one of the biggest parts that I was excited about this is you'll have the opportunity to, of course, talk with Joy and ask some things, and I'll moderate that. I can turn your mic on if we need for you to ask it maybe to kind of get a better clarity of your question. But anyway, that's really how we'll work this. I'll get out of the way here in a few moments and then Joy will speak to us. Tonight she's speaking on vocal health, which if anybody knows it, Joy knows it. That's a very perfect situation and a topic for tonight. And it's something we all need and have a lot of questions about because, I mean, every week that's what we're doing, right, Joy? I mean, that's what we do. So I'm excited. So there's others that are joining now. This will be archived, so we'll have it on our website for those that can't make it. I've talked to several today that are going to be, they have service and different things and rehearsals, so they'll join us later. But I want to go ahead and turn it over to Joy, and she's going to speak for a while. I know you guys, we can't see your webcams, but like I said, use that chat feature when you have questions and just send those in anytime. And sometimes you have to send them when you're thinking about it or you'll forget. So send that and I'll see those. Nobody else will see that, so there's no worries there. And we'll come back at the end and do some of the question and answer. So Joy, I'm going to let you take it away and let's go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. This is just a great thing, a great opportunity, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. And so thank you for joining us. Jeremy did say, that vocal health does affect all of us. And that's one reason why I really like to talk about it because it does affect all of us. And even if you're a musician or if you're a singer or if you're a leader, and most of us all are leaders if we're on this cast tonight, and we work with a lot of people and we sing, and even if we don't sing, we speak a lot. And I have a real passion for this because I'll just say it real quickly because we don't have a lot of time tonight, but I had a nodule several years ago, and actually the Lord healed me. It was a miracle, and someday I'll tell you about that. But when I went back to the doctor and it was gone, he said that I would always have to work to take care of my voice. And so I did extensive study in how to do that. And so I've talked about this for years. It's one of my favorite little sessions to talk about. There's a lot of stuff to cover, and tonight we won't get into all of it. But I would just like to say that if you're a speaker, if you're a singer, if you're a leader, if you're a musician, we all use our voices and we all help people. I mean, that's what leaders do. And so there are a few things that I think are really critical to the longevity and the health of your voice. And so I would want to talk about that tonight. And one of the first things that I think is really important for us as singers, when I got my nodule, I was taking voice lessons. I was doing all the things singing-wise that we learned to do correctly as far as technique, and we won't talk about technique tonight necessarily, but I was trying to do those things and still got the nodule. And as a result of basically what happened was that I was speaking wrong. And so that's why I think that vocal health is important for all of us, because even if you're a singer, you probably talk more than you speak, more than you sing. And so I had to take speech therapy and et cetera, et cetera. So one of the first things that they said that I had to do was to get up in the morning. This was from my voice teacher at the time, my vocal coach, and she was saying, exercise your voice. I couldn't speak. I had to write notes. I had went for 6 months, no speaking, to try to, get rid of it. And long story, but the first thing that I was supposed to do was to do vocal exercises every morning. And so I would just say that one of the most important things that you can do for your voice is to do vocal exercises. And, like I said, this is not really a technique session, but if you just do simple things like, you may not have a keyboard to do all your scales, but if you would just do simple things like, sometimes if I'm going to use my voice a lot during the day, or I'm going to have rehearsal, or I always do vocal exercises at the beginning of rehearsals, but before the rehearsal, I'll just take about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll start at the very bottom of my range, and I'll go. The good thing about that exercise is it gives the tongue flexibility. It focuses the tone up in the front of your face, that's what you want when you're a singer, because of that resonance. That's where the resonance is, in the front of your face. So, and it's real easy. You don't have to have a keyboard. You just start at the bottom of your range, and let's do it together right now, okay? Let's go. Then another thing that you would do, the same thing, you just go. Ooh, that's really pretty. I've never seen myself do that. That makes that's pretty. So those two exercises right there are really good warm-ups, because it covers the entirety of your range. You start at the very bottom, go to the very top, come back down, and I'll just do that for like 5 or 10 minutes or so, and it really, really helps. So you don't have to, it's great if you can work on vocal exercises for technique, but if you don't have the keyboard, if you don't have a CD to put in, just do that. So I would say that's one of the very most important things to do for vocal health. Another thing that's really important is to drink a lot of water, and we know that, okay, and we've heard that, and that's just the water is so critical for every part of your body. But what it does vocally, it keeps you lubricated. It washes out all the poisons and all the toxins that come in your body. And one thing that really is not a great thing to do before you sing or speak is to drink coffee. And because what happens is coffee or caffeine dries your vocal cords out. Well, I have a good friend who's a doctor of naturopathy, and so her deal on coffee is, if you drink 8 ounces of coffee, then drink 16 ounces of water to wash it out. Well, that's from a health perspective. But if you're singing, like on Sunday mornings, and you're going, okay, I'm getting off the air right now, she's making me mad because I can't have my coffee. But it's important, so important, to wash that out of your system. Drink a lot of water to get that caffeine out, because it truly does dry your vocal cords out. Now, let me say something right here. This is what's kind of interesting is, that every body is different. So sometimes where caffeine or some of these other things that we eat or put in our system would affect me, it might not would affect you. So I have a couple of friends that say, oh, I sing better if I drink coffee. Okay, so these are general rules, okay? And so I wanted to say that, because there might be somebody out there that goes, oh, I drink 3 cups of coffee every morning, and I sing so good on Sunday morning after I have 3 cups of coffee. But generally, caffeine dries your vocal cords out. It dries your body out. It dries your skin out. We're not talking about that right now, but it does do that. So drink lots and lots of water. Another thing that's really critical for your vocal health is rest, which is hard for us sometimes, especially during conferences. If you've ever sang a conference or a series of meetings, and you're singing day and you're singing night, and you say, oh, I'm losing my voice, I'll have people, in the group, different groups will go, what can I do? I'm losing my voice. I said, well, how late did you stay out last night? Oh, till about 3, and then I had to get up and come to rehearsal at 8. And so rest is so critical for your voice. Another thing that you want to make sure that you do is you truly do want to watch what you eat, especially before you sing. And one of the things that you want to try to be extra careful of, if your body reacts, is dairy, because dairy is a mucus forming agent in your body. And I have another friend who says dairy doesn't affect him. And I just say, well, praise the Lord for that, brother, because it does most people. It does affect. And so if you can stay away from the milk and the cereal and the cheese on Sunday mornings or before you go to church, and have to do a lot of singing, then dairy is very affected. It affects your voice in a lot of different ways. There's another thing that I think is really interesting, and I don't know how many of you this would apply to, obviously, not knowing who all is on, but when I was doing this study, um, uh, uh, there's two more little things quickly that I want to just say, because we're kind of running out of time. But one thing is secondhand smoke. I'm sure most of us don't smoke, and especially as the years get by, and smoking is not very popular anymore. But I had a student one time that came in to my lesson, and she'd been a student for a long time, and she was doing all the technical things right, and she had a great voice, but she was just hoarse all the time. And I said, what? It just hit me. I think I'd just done a session on vocal health at some clinic, and I always talk about smoking, because it's kind of in the books, but never had really had an experience with it. But my student said, I said, do you work around secondhand smoke? And she said, or do you work around people that smoke? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, you need to find another job. And so she did. And when she did, and she got out of that environment, then her voice cleared up. So if you're in an environment, if you work in a place, or if you work with people that all of a sudden start getting hoarse, I mean, that is an issue. One other thing, that as we age, we lose some thyroid function and some hormone function, and that was in the book that I read. And I would have ladies, come up, and men too, actually, that would be aging, and they would come up and they would say, you know what, that's happening to me. I'm getting a veil over my voice. And when your thyroid is low, there's a veil that kind of happens on your voice, and you can't get the notes out, and it just feels like you can't get singing at the sounds out. And the same thing with your hormone levels. So I would just touch briefly on that and say, if you're having some kind of issues, and you're trying to eat right, and you're trying to do all the things that you know to do, then I would just try to check your hormones, try to check your thyroid, and see if that helps. I had a situation personally several years ago, to where I kind of got out of balance and out of whack. And once, well, I'm still out of whack, but I got all balanced, and it's just incredible, the difference, and that helped my voice, the longevity of it. And so all of these little things that we don't think about really do affect your voice. It's pretty crazy how that happens. So I would just encourage you to just take a look at these things and think about them, and know that there are ways to be helpful. There's one other thing I want to share with you real quick, and that is, there's two things actually. I had I had a chorale several years ago, and I had two girls that would come to practice every Monday night. It was kind of a community group. It was an auditioned group. So they were really great singers, and we worked really hard at doing vocal exercises and working their voice. And they would come every Monday night, and they were to practice, and they were hoarse all the time. And so they both went to the doctor, and they both had issues with acid reflux, and that's why they were getting hoarse. So one of the girls had a doctor friend, a naturopathy doctor, and she told her to do aloe vera gel and juice. Hidden Valley is the brand, and juice, and to do that 3 times a day, and do it every day until she tried to kind of get this under control. So both of the girls started doing this, and I remember this because one of them started on a Wednesday, and she came on Sunday. She had her church services, both services on Sunday, and then she came for rehearsal on Monday night, and her voice was like clear as a bell. It was crazy. So if you have acid reflux situation, then that'll help. Also, there's a drink that I love to do that's really been helpful through the years when I would recommend it to people, and probably some of you know about it. So it's more popular now than it used to be, but it's called the lemonade fast or the cleansing fast, and it's 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, uh, 1 whole lemon, and 10 to 15 drops of cayenne pepper or more, if you can stand that, to about 8 ounces of warm water. Uh, Through the years, I've added apple cider vinegar, the organic Bragg's, and I've added some different oils because I'm kind of into the little oil thing, um, and oil blends, I mean. And it's really, I just have to say that that's one of the things that people ask me about the most, because there's something in cayenne pepper that is very, very healing. In fact, I was recommended this one time for a church, and the next night at rehearsal, I was doing a clinic somewhere, and so I recommended it that first night. And the next night, this lady came to church, and she brought me 3 pages worth of what cayenne pepper does for your body. So it's a great cleansing in your blood, strength. I mean, it just does so many things. But anyway, I would recommend this little drink. Probably some of you know about it, but it's really been really, really helpful, especially if you have crud, you know, the nice word I think is mucus in your voice. So I would recommend that as well. And lots of rest, lots of water, do the drink, do the exercises, and there you go.
That is incredible. All right, Joy. I have a few people that I wanted to talk to a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. It's incredible. I have a few questions myself, and but I'm gonna wait on those just for a moment. But I saw Mark Crowder is one of our guests tonight, and he actually is one of our vocal teachers for UPCI Music. So Mark, I'm gonna turn your mic on, and I know you'll have some things that you'll want to add. In fact, I saw where you said something about vitamins, and I'm gonna turn your mic on real quick. And Mark, go ahead and share that with everyone if you don't mind. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for allowing me to be on. It's
Absolutely.
it's an absolute pleasure to hear Joy Norris. She is a legend and in no short order and
Absolutely.
absolutely excellent. So
You
for
don't have to
those,
do all that.
well,
You're kind.
there's no
Oh,
reason to embellish at all. It's just a fact. And for those that are on now and for those that will be seeing this in the future, you certainly have tuned into the right place. I just want to say that over time, things that I've discovered, it's very important, as you mentioned, health. It's difficult for your voice um, to operate as it should if you're not physically in the position to be healthy. I have a multivitamin that I take every day, and vitamin C. I do a minimum of 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day. It's absolutely transformed the strength of my vocal cords. You have to remember that your voice is a muscle, and anything that would work for your, you know, lifting weights in the gym, whether you're doing squats or bench press or dumbbells, the same concepts work for your voice. So what does that mean? Well, if you only sing once a week, that's like trying to work out once a week. Your voice suffers from that, and you incur extra strain on your vocal cords, just as if you were trying to work out at the gym once a week. So making sure that you're having consistent warm-ups through the week, especially if you're on your church's praise team, or if you're a leader, or you're a preacher. I get a lot of questions from preachers, um, conference speakers that incur issues, especially if you're, you're an apostolic preacher. I'm sure we've got people that aren't here necessarily apostolic or not necessarily UPC yours, so your style may be a little bit different from ours. But for preachers and apostolic singers, normally it's very heavy. It's very tough style, and with that, making sure you have your supplements, making sure that you have a vocal rest day after your most strenuous uh, speaking or vocal activities. I always have, Monday is always a rest day. It's very rare that I even allow anything to be scheduled on a Monday. So I tell preachers and pastors, if you can, try not to counsel on a Monday, try not to speak on a Monday, try to keep your calls to a minimum, field them to your assistant. Just really keep the speaking down to a minimum on Mondays for most of us, because Sunday is such a heavy day. And a lot of preachers still do 2 or 3 meetings a Sunday. Um, but vitamins is so important. I do fish oil, green tea extract, all that good stuff. I love the cayenne pepper, Sister Norris. Love that. Those are all important. But if you can't remember everything, or if you're not particularly detailed, if it's difficult for you to do a list of 20 things, I cannot second the vocal stretch, is what I call it, enough. The first thing that she showed you, I cannot reinforce, having a multivitamin and a vitamin C every single day. You never miss that. And just as if you were wanting to work out 3 or 4 times a week, you need to try and do a little singing 10, 15, 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. This isn't for everybody, but this is for the serious singers, the serious preachers. If we don't have our voices, we aren't able to fulfill our calling. And
Yes.
it's very, very important that we take care of ourselves in such a way that God is pleased with how we take care of the temple.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, so much for sharing
And
that.
that was
Joy, do you want to
great.
add anything to that?
Well, that was awesome, and I thought about so many things when you were talking. But one thing that I think I mentioned at the very beginning is that our voice is our instrument.
Mhm.
And it's not like playing a guitar or a keyboard, because you don't manipulate it the same. It's a physical thing. So yes, keeping your body healthy and doing what he said. I do the very same thing every day, and I will tell you, the days that I don't do them, I can tell the difference, and I can tell the difference in my voice. It is really amazing. And yes, Monday is the new Sabbath. That's my Sabbath day, Monday. That's a rule.
Right. Hey, I have another question. Natasha Benthal is on here, and she is a pastor's wife and a music director in Illinois. Natasha, I'm going to put you on. Can you hear me now, Natasha? There she is. Can you hear me now? I feel like a Verizon commercial. Anyway, she had a question about would this work the same to substitute honey for the maple syrup? She had that question.
Okay, a lot of people ask that,
Hmm.
and the initial recipe is maple syrup. The deal with honey, a lot of times for a lot of voices, is kind of clogging. It's more thick, and the pure maple syrup. Now it has to be not Aunt Jemima kind. It has to be pure maple syrup, like Vermont or whatever. Grade A or
Hmm.
grade A is the best, or grade B. Okay, so it's got to be the pure maple syrup. And what you'll find with the pure maple syrup is that it's not as thick. Uh, you used to could only, when I first started doing this recipe, you used to could only get it at health food stores. Now, like Kroger and Publix, and in the most grocery stores now kind of have a little health food section, and even they're carrying pure maple syrup at Walmart now.
Hmm.
So it's very easy to get. It is a little more expensive, but um, if you can't get it, I wouldn't say that honey's terrible. I just say that the original recipe calls for maple syrup, and maple syrup is a little more healthy
Hmm.
in that regards, and it's less thick.
Okay. All right, Natasha, I hope that helped. I hope you could hear that. I wasn't able to connect your mic somehow, but there was a question too I had, Joy, that I wanted to ask you, and it's not totally on vocal health, but it is something that's kind of in this realm. But um, actually, it's not vocal health; it's vocals, though. How do you help guys, tenors, to stretch their range to hit notes that are, G, A flat, A? I know a lot of choirs have difficulty with this as far as those true tenors, you know, have a baritone like myself, what do you recommend to help directors to say, hey guys, we can reach these notes. It is attainable. How would you help them with that?
When I had my auditioned group, I told you about a group in Atlanta that I used to have, and you know, it was a little auditioned group, so everybody in there could sing. However, I had two guys that were baritones, and they were true baritone basses. But
Hmm.
you know, in our gospel music is really all that we sang at that point, and even contemporary now, you don't really have bass. So every guy sings tenor, but every
Hmm.
guy is really not a tenor. And so what I did, I mentioned earlier that we always did vocal warm-ups, always do, wherever I try to be, always do vocal warm-ups. And what I would try to do is, this is a real short deal. Well, it's kind of long, but I'm going to try to make it really quick. So
Okay.
we have one voice, and we have three registers. We have a chest register, we have where it vibrates in your chest. You know, like if you go ah and you feel it down here, it's vibrating in your chest. Then you have a mouth register to where if you go ah and it's not really in your chest, it's not up
Hmm.
here, it's a middle or mouth register they call it. And then we have the head register which goes ah, you know, we're singing up in our head. Well, so I would always try to exercise my guys and the tenors up above that. You know, most guys can do G. Uh, Sometimes they stretch to do the G, but
Hmm.
G-ish, you know.
Hmm.
And so I would always try to uh, make them go up to the high C and to let them feel that head register feeling. Now,
Hmm.
lately and recently, since I've been doing that, the slide, you know, the that's another reason I love those exercises right there
Hmm.
because it bridges those three registers, the chest, mouth, and the head register. And
Hmm.
um, so so what I do, and lately when I've worked with smaller churches that the tenors couldn't quite get it or they can't quite feel it, it is so exciting to see them go
Hmm.
and then they've gone all the way up into their head and it's like I feel it, I feel it. So it's like when you can get the guys to whoa, hallelujah, we're having
Yeah, I
church.
feel it.
Just kidding, just kidding. Okay, so when you can get the guys to feel that head, that's the deal. They've got to feel the head register
Hmm.
because guys don't, it's their little girl voice, you know, or it's their
Hmm.
sissy voice, or, you know, we
Hmm.
don't do that. We don't sing like that because we're, ooh, men, you know.
Right. Right.
So thank God. But anyway,
Right.
you know, so to get them to feel that head, that to me recently, that's the
Hmm.
easiest way to get a guy to feel that is when you do the slide and then they get up in their head and you just kind of let them sustain that note where they are and you're
Okay.
like, that's your head. You know,
Okay.
that's what I mean. So when they develop that, then they can sing those A's and B flats and C's if you go to
Hmm.
C. But if you go that high, they can sing that in their head register. You know, and I say, I would rather you get the pitch than for you to be barreling and, you know, let's let the
Yeah.
microphone do its work. Get the pitch. Don't sing so hard.
Absolutely. Very good. That's excellent. And I think that's something too, even those exercises, we do them here. And it takes a little while for the guys to really grab a hold
Yeah.
of that and do them because they're like, what is this? You know, but
Yes.
they'll get onto it. They'll get onto it.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing it, keep requiring it every time you warm up, you know, and that kind
Yes.
of gets routine. And then they'll be odd man out if they don't do it.
That's the
Um,
deal.
yeah.
That's the deal. You have to stay on it. It takes
Hmm.
more energy. It's just like making them sing the right part right.
Hmm.
Perfect. You know, I mean you got perfect practice makes perfect, right? Not
Absolutely.
practice makes perfect. So
Right.
if
Right.
you do it and you keep it and you just drive it and it takes a lot of
Hmm.
energy and a lot of work, but when they start getting it, and that's when it's really exciting for you.
We have a question from Kaylee Johnstone. Kaylee, I'm gonna unmute you. What was your question for Joy, Kaylee?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I used to have a much broader range when I was younger, singing from, tenor all the way up to a high soprano, and primarily soprano, but kind of innocently, ignorantly, if I could say it that way, I spent years not warming up, not knowing I needed to warm up, and now I am a alto slash tenor. Do you have any tips or suggestions on how I can get that range back?
Well, I truly, to me, it's simple. And Mark, and you, Jeremy, may have something to add to this, but I just feel like if you're trying to get your range, that every day you take some time, 10, 15 minutes, 5, whatever you can do, to either do those little fun, easy exercises that I was talking about, or get an exercise CD, or if you play the piano, to try to work up. Let's just say that your range is G, below middle C, and that you can go to the G above middle C. Okay, let's just say that that's your range. Then every day you can work to stretch your range. Like, so let's say you've worked a week on that octave, and then the next week you want to start and try to do the G sharp, and then you just do that for several days, and it truly is easy to stretch your range. But the thing I would say, and I would try to do it by exercising daily, some sort of exercise. The little slides are good. I would say if you can learn how, I don't, without hearing you, I don't know like where you're placing your tone.
Uh-huh.
If you're trying to do it all in your chest register or mouth register, and you're not giving your head register a chance to help you, because you can build your head register with exercises, then how to place the tone in the front of your face, and with breathing exercises, the right techniques, you can build your head register volume wise to where it doesn't feel like you're going how we do sometimes. We're singing big, and then we get into that head register and sound like mousy in the housey, type thing. So if you, I would say if you take a few minutes every day and try to stretch your range a little bit at a time. Don't strain your voice, okay? It's not worth that, but just try to stretch it a little bit at a time. Then that's how I would briefly explain that to someone who's trying to extend their range.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. We had one more question from Hannah Stevens. Hannah, go ahead and ask Joy that question. I think it was referring to the last thing we were talking about, but go ahead. Hannah, are you there? I don't see if your mic is turned on. There, are you there, Hannah?
Hello, hello.
There you are. Go ahead and ask
Hey.
Joy.
Okay, I have a problem with voice cracking. Will these steps help my voice stop cracking?
Um, you know, your voice is your human instrument, okay? And a lot of bodies are different, okay? So, without hearing you, I don't know exactly, but I would say that if you technically know how to support your tone with your breath, if you're breathing from your diaphragm and your ribs extended, and which is a kind of a new thing that I've kind of learned in the last 2 or 3 years, which is a really kind of a cool thing that sometime we might want to talk about, Jeremy. But anyway, if you work on your breathing and you know how to breathe and you exercise in the right way, then I think a lot of that might have to do with breath control, without hearing you. As long as your voice is not tired or weak, or you've sang too much, you haven't rested enough, you haven't took that Monday Sabbath off. Thanks, Mark, for talking about that. Like he said, we sing hard. We do sing hard, and it's very, very important that we learn technically how to sing right. I remember one of my voice instructors, one time he was helping me to know that the technique is the same no matter what style you sing, because when I went to him, I felt like he would understand our gospel way that we like to sing, and how we real gutsy, that kind of thing. And he was like, he understood it, but he wanted me to understand, because I was singing Italian and I wasn't like real happy singing Italian and German. He said, well, do you want to keep your voice? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, the technique is the same no matter what style you're singing. So I think what we have to do to kind of keep the voice from breaking and from giving out and wearing down is to really learn the technique and to use it properly.
Okay.
And I would say also, if that is if you think that is a physical thing, excuse me, a physical issue that might be happening is to take care of your body with supplements, and that drink thing really does help as well.
Cool. Thank you, Hannah. I hope that helps. We had another question, Joy, and we'll just take a couple more. Destiny Eckert, she had a question. I think this is a great question. Let me unmute her if I can find her microphone. There she is. Destiny, are you there? Go ahead and ask
Yes,
Joy. Go ahead.
All right. When you were talking about breathing from your diaphragm and such, how can you be sure that you are doing it correctly? Because sometimes whenever I guess I'm trying to focus on breathing, somebody once called it breathing fat, but breathing from the belly and breathing from the diaphragm, I feel like I don't breathe as deep as whenever I guess I'm breathing from my chest and such.
Right. Well, that happens if you're not used to breathing from your diaphragm. So what I do is when I take a student at the very beginning and we do voice lessons, that's what I start with, the very first lesson, because I feel like that breathing is the foundation of singing. Quite tritely, if you can't breathe, then you can't function. And it's the way it is with singing. If you don't have good breath support, then you can't support the tone. Your voice cracks, your voice breaks. You can't hold the tone as long. You can't have vibrato as good. You can't hold your pitches. So breathing is so critical and important to the sound of your voice and to the longevity of your voice. So what I'll do is, if we're not getting that the middle expansion, or the rib expansion, where you get big, like you said, the fat, when you make your body fat, or you blow yourself up like a balloon, because when you inhale, then you know that you get bigger. That's kind of the fun term. That's not the technical term. But whenever you exhale, then you get smaller again. So it's this way. Breathe in. You breathe in, you get big. You breathe out, you get little. It's like filling a balloon up with air, right? So that's exactly right. Okay, so if they're not getting that, then what I'll do is I'll have them lie on the floor and put a book on top of the top of their tummy, okay, where your diaphragm and all that's located, not the bottom of the tummy, the top of the tummy, and because when you lay down, it's easier to get that out and in movement than when you're standing. And then when they get that, then we'll stand, and then we'll have breath exercises that we work on, like we'll go ha ha ha, and like make sure that your tummy's moving in and out like that. Whenever you're doing that, it is a lot of practice to do that, and it is a lot of you need to practice without singing, like do vocal exercises and make sure that you breathe with your diaphragm where the middle of your tummy is moving out every exercise, even though you're not or every little scale, even though you don't need it. You need to blow all your air out, breathe in big again, blow all your air out, just to get that practice of breathing in and out. And then you need to do that till it becomes second nature, because what happens is when we get in church and we start singing, we're not thinking about breathing. We're thinking about the notes, we're thinking about the lyrics, we're thinking about anointing, we're thinking about everything that's important in a service. We're not thinking about breathing. So that's why you have to do it on your own, in practice, and get it. But if you're not feeling it right now, then just lay on the floor, relax, put a book on your belly, or just put your hand on your tummy, whatever, and then you'll feel that up and down, in and out movement, and then once you get it like that, then of course, you can stand and start doing it that way.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Destiny, very much. One other question, he doesn't have a microphone, but Ron Wilson, he was asking, Joy, are there any recommended books that you, or materials for studying vocal health or techniques, or is there anything out there that you like or recommend at all? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I wish I would. Okay, yeah. There is I talked just briefly about this this breathing, expanding your ribs and keeping your ribs open while you're singing the whole time and not letting your ribs deflate, which is like crazy, amazing, effective. And I got that idea from a lady called Jeannie Diva, Geannie Deva. She's a vocal coach in California. And I'll just have to give you one little quick example about that. I mean, in her book and in her CDs, it takes several days and weeks to kind of master this because it's a little bit different than, it's a little bit more extensive than just breathing from your diaphragm, like we've always said, But I was I was helping this church recently do a recording, and one of the vocalist was just having a lot of problems with sustaining her notes and her pitches, and she was a great singer, but she's just having a lot of trouble. So I just took just a few minutes and worked on this rib expansion thing with her, and she worked on it at home, and she came back the next recording session, and it was crazy amazing how much it helped her. So Jeannie Diva has a lot of she has blogs that she does. I don't know how I got on her mailing list, but I've had blogs from her for several years, and finally ordered her material, and I really like it. It's really good. It's really practical. Steve Beatty, I guess, Steve and Karen, I think Beatty, they're a Christian vocal coach, husband and wife team. They have a lot of great material out there. That's off the top of my head. I know there's more, but
that's great though. Just to get some of those names that we don't know about. That's wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
And it is good to read up and to know. And Ron said thank you. He said that's really great information to get. But I want to probably wrap this up for tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody that's been here tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to Joy Norris, of course, for being with us, because honestly, when I think about a vocal specialist, that's who I think of, Joy. It's you.
Aww.
Because you just, you are that. And we appreciate you because you have learned so much. You have so much knowledge in this area, and thanks for sharing it with us tonight. Thank you guys for all the questions tonight. These are good questions. And this is what this is about. This is what we want this for, is for people to be able to share and ask and say, hey, what do you do about this? And this is a great forum for it. And part of just being a member of the UPCI Music Ministry, that's what we wanted, is to have a connection place. And next month, if you want to put on your calendars, of course I'll put it out on social media, but next month, February the 9th, Laird Silliman will be our guest. And so everybody knows Brother Laird Silliman, incredible person. Great. Incredible musician, worship leader. He's done it all, and he's going to be with us, Joy, next month. And so we want all of you to come back, of course, and we'll get more word out. But thank you on our very first webinar. Yeah, I know, Joy. That's right. It's exciting. And there's more questions that have come in, just some thank yous, and I appreciate all of you and what you're saying. And this is great. We'll make this better. We'll tweak it. There are things that we'll learn from tonight. And next month, February the 9th, we'll put that out. But Joy, thank you again. Oh, also, if any of you that are watching tonight, Joy does a lot of clinics. She comes to churches. She does a lot of workshops that'll help your church, help your vocalist. I just highly recommend touch base with her, email her, do whatever you got to do to get in touch with her and have her come, because it's incredible. It really is, because she is awesome. So thank you all tonight, Joy. Appreciate it. I know it's later on the East Coast, so. But thank you all for joining, and we will archive this, so if you want to go back and watch it, or you have some friends that need to watch it, it'll be on our website. So, Joy, anything last you want to say, or is that it?
Thank y'all. Y'all are amazing. Go.
All right. Thank you, and God bless you all. See you next month.